Hey crypto friends, checking back in on things as the bulls have had control the past few days since we last checked in. We have Bitcoin bulls seeing continuation, a solid 7% move over the last 5 days. It was marked by inside bar bull break, inside bar bull break. Pretty solid volume on yesterday's bullish follow through, but we have a bit of indecision today, and it's looking like this may be a bit of a bearish candlestick that could indicate that we need to consolidate and form another higher low before testing our next two key resistance levels, 41.89, and then the weekly resistance everyone is watching, 42.39. So we did have a rejection, and our previous rejections have been where the bears have been essentially lying in wait and knocking the price down with a bunch of market sell orders out of nowhere as soon as bulls break resistance. This was a bit of a different scenario. We did have this bear dump and we saw a quick pullback of multiple percent, but that was due to BitThumb being hacked, and that happened at just about midnight last night, and that's on the East Coast. And if we zoom in and look at the time frame on when that happened, that is right about when that tweet went out, and that was the dump that we saw. So the bulls are attempting to recover. I'm still using the 4-hour exponential moving average support as my guideline, and it is still holding as support at this point. If we lose those exponential moving averages as support, we will be looking at the daily. We will zoom out and look for the daily chart to form a higher low compared to 38.58, where we recently bounced off of. The first key level to be watching is the low of that bearish reaction, 40.42. If we were to lose the 4-hour exponential support, that's the first level that we would look to see if the bulls can hold it. So holding on at this point, still within striking distance. And what people want to know is, are we going to get the bull break? Number one, are we going to get the bull break? And number two, what kind of follow through can we expect on that bull break? So I don't think we're going to see a ton of short covering and a ton of bulls enter on this resistance break. We might get a little bit of a pop, a few percentage points to the upside, but I would be surprised if we saw a high volume, 5-10% day on that resistance breaking without any kind of news behind it. You can see the volume, and right now I am on Coinbase, which is not the best source for volume. But if we look at volume across the board, looking at multiple exchanges, we're not really seeing anything on the weekly time frame. So that would have to change significantly for the bull break to have any meaning. And I would need to see, over the average volume. We've got our 20-week average volume for Coinbase. It's 37,000. If we're going to look at Bitfinex, that average 20-day volume is 41,000. And just last, we'll round it up here with, let's go, where is Binance? There's Binance. So again, 20-week average volume, 163,000. All these weeks are below the average volume. So unless we see a high volume spike, I'm not going to anticipate a ton of follow through on that initial break, meaning it's not going to be a everybody act now signal with FOMO and people rushing in. That being said, we have to ensure that we get significant follow through over that resistance break. The bulls want to make their way at least over 4,500, because if we don't, as we know, when we change trends without follow through, we zoom out and look for flags. And I keep highlighting the potential that, yes, this could be a monthly bear flag at this point for these major cryptocurrency names. And we would have to see, like I said, significant follow through and solid bull volume to try and negate the possibility of that monthly chart being a bear flag. So daily time frame, still full control of the bulls, and we can anticipate that even if we do need to consolidate to form a higher low, the bulls have gotten themselves plenty of space to work with. So that key 42.39 resistance is going to be in play for the next half a week at least. It's just a question of whether the bulls can recover and hold the 4-hour exponential moving average or not as we head into tonight. Our temporary top right now, 41.32, is as far as we made it before that pullback. So I ended up entering into a bit of a Litecoin position. I really liked the clarity on the daily time frame, just in terms of a standard old equilibrium pattern that was holding, and it did break bullish, and I entered on consolidation. So I didn't enter full positions by any means. It's still a fairly small position overall, but it has me comfortable because looking at this daily chart, I personally will look to add a little bit more if we were to drop down into the $58,000 $58 range, because the must-hold support levels are 57.06 and 56.80. So anything above those levels keeps the daily uptrend intact, so scaling in on consolidation would keep me comfortable anticipating that Bitcoin would form a daily higher low as well. Obviously, any huge bear volume could change that fact, but without any big bear volume, we will look for daily higher lows to form. So I am personally patiently waiting to look for potential continuation, because if Bitcoin does break its 42.39 resistance level, I do believe that Litecoin bulls can set their sights on the mid 60s at least for the next leg up, with the weekly resistance nowhere in sight. If we get over our recent top of 62.22, the next resistance level is up at 65.60. So bulls hoping for a little bull flag on the weekly time frame, healthy consolidation, declining volume, and patiently waiting for Bitcoin to guide the way. Ethereum, solid few days as well for the bulls. 147.23 is resistance. Our recent high was all the way up at 165.62. So in terms of how much percentage gain the bulls need for continuation, we still need 17% plus on Ethereum, whereas for Bitcoin, we need 5%, less than 5%, 4% pretty much. And for Litecoin, we need pretty much a couple percent. So Ethereum is still the furthest from its recent top. As we try and make our way back, we have a couple clear higher lows to be watching. Most important support is 130.64. If we pull back on Bitcoin, we'll look for Ethereum to form a higher low compared to 130.64. And it's all about 147.23 resistance in the short term. 4-hour exponential support still holding just like Bitcoin. We held at initial consolidation. We're currently holding it now. Litecoin's a bit different on the 4-hour chart. Litecoin is losing its exponential support. It's coming from a different place. So it's not the exact same setup, which is why I'm watching Bitcoin's 4-hour time frame to get a little bit of insight into Litecoin as well. So Ethereum overall, daily time frame, a bit of a laggard, worth keeping an eye on for the momentum to shift, but we need to be watching the ETH BTC chart for indication of a momentum shift, because we're still in a clear downtrend here. 3609, 3606, we'll call that a double top. So we can pretty much draw that line in the sand and say, I'm not going to be interested in Ethereum unless we break that double top to show us that Ethereum is gaining strength comparative to Bitcoin, because otherwise, not really a whole lot impressive in terms of Ethereum versus Bitcoin. XRP also seen a nice few days to the upside in terms of a percentage move from the low to the high. We did make it a nice 8%. But again, we have all this resistance right up at 3.3. So 3.32, 3.3, 3.3. If we can't break 3.3, the bulls are not proving anything on the daily time frame. Just look at all these rejections. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times now. And that is clearly the level that the bulls are going to have to get over to try and shift this momentum back in their favor. The weekly time frame continues to grind against exponential resistance. We have the low, high, double bottom, another lower high, and then just really a month of a lack of any real action on Ripple, as the bulls are not really showing us anything. So again, just a line in the sand. We have that ETH BTC line in the sand, and XRP, my line in the sand would be 3.3. If we can't get over it, bulls don't prove anything. And that just keeps things simple. There's so much going on. There's so many altcoins, so many coins to be watching in the cryptocurrency space, that if we can set this criteria, that forces the trade to come to us. So if I'm saying I have no interest bullish in XYZ coin, whatever it is, as long as this level is resistance, that allows me to put it on the back burner, not let it take up any of my attention besides just checking on it every now and again. I can even set an alert on that level to potentially give me a signal, and then just going to patiently wait. And if that level doesn't break, then we never take any kind of trade. And that's a way to allow the trade to come to you, because it has to be your criteria and your comfortability and your setup that you're looking for. So same thing as Bitcoin. If we do pull back more on Ripple, we will look for a daily higher low to form compared to 298, because the bulls do have a good amount of space to work with from the bounce over the last 5 days. BNB USDT still holding on to the daily chart support as well. Right now we have a 4-hour tightening range to be watching, with 1553 the most important support. We have another level we can watch of 1596 if bulls want to have a little bit of a closer key support level, and a bit of a double top, 1683 and 1681, actually a triple top, 1684, 83, 81. So we have to get over that level. If we cannot get over that level on this bull attempt, we'll need a higher low on the 4-hour time frame, and then a potential resistance break. And if we were to draw this pattern using trend lines, which I don't do as much, but we would be right at that downtrend resistance line. And as far as support goes, we would have an ascending support line to be watching. So it's pretty much whether we're going to reject from this level, be unable to break these triple tops in the 1680s, and need to pull back for a higher low in the 1630s or so. Worth keeping an eye on Binance. It has been one of the strongest coins in the cryptocurrency space for the bulls. The daily chart is still in an uptrend at this point. It has been for a very long time. Looking at the weekly chart, and we can see that we are entering an area after 1750. We got up to 1748 and 1750. So that in itself is a double top as well. But we're looking up at the all-time high if we can clear that resistance level. So we have a triple top on the short-term 4-hour time frame, shorter term, I should say. And then we have the double top on the weekly time frame at 1750. Binance Bulls still very strong overall. The next coins that we're going to be looking at are voted on by members. So some interest in ADA, which has certainly had a very bullish uptrend. Anything on the daily above 1544 keeps the higher lows intact. We had an inside bar break bull, inside bar currently forming today. If that were to break bear, that tells us the daily chart needs a higher low compared to 1451. And if it breaks bull, we're just looking for continuation. Weekly time frame, very clear trend change. This is exactly what Bitcoin would want to see. So this is a really good example. If you are bullish and you are seeing a low, high, higher low, and here is your bull break. The volume started increasing before the bull break even took place. We were already over the 20-week average volume, and then we just saw an exclamation point in terms of follow through and volume after the break occurred. That's what we would want to see. That is ideal scenario for what the Bitcoin bulls need if we break 4239. Essentially, we want to head up to 5,000 within the next 2 weeks of a bull break on the weekly time frame to be able to believe that the bulls have that follow through. So ADA, weekly trend has changed. We're in an area with a lack of resistance. So just moving this line to put it where the current price made it up to, we can see there's a lack of resistance in this area up to 261. That's not even in the picture at this point. So we'll see how long the bulls can keep up the daily uptrend. When we lose the daily uptrend, the weekly chart, we're just going to look for a higher low to form, bull cross of the exponential 12 and 26 period coming potentially for the first time. We have good odds of that with where we're currently set up. And the 4-hour time frame still riding these exponential supports, every little pullback, as Bitcoin is attempting to do as well. So daily inside bar on watch tomorrow for ADA, and we can definitely see some further upside if we get a break of 1783. But if you are not in a position at this point, this is the kind of chart, when that weekly chart is so extended, that I personally wouldn't be greedy on bull entries. Knowing how far we've run, I would look to make entries on bull breaks. And then one of my strategies is exit half of my position with some profit to give myself wiggle room before my break-even point. So if I were to, see some 10% of profit, let's go 5% of profit, take half of that position, then my break-even price is 5% lower than what my entry was. It gives me a lot of space to be comfortable and work around to be looking for an attempt at holding longer term to try and get some more continuation, even though we are overextended in the short term, as we certainly know that some cryptocurrencies can keep that up for a while, as Binance has. EOS USDT, definitely want to be aware of the volatility on this one. And just looking at today's candlestick, 432 down to 399 as a pullback. So that's a 6-7% pullback in one day. But we see the strength to the upside as well. The daily equilibrium broke bull. We're pulling back now, trying to form a daily higher low because the 4-hour uptrend was lost. And this was a very clear support level indicating short-term weakness. We had 421, 421, 421, 422, 422. So pretty much 5 bottoms at that level. It broke. We did get a lot of bear follow through initially, but it was just weak inside bar bear break with a quick flush. Bulls bought the dip, so it's not a huge red flag at this point, but that break of 420 and 421 certainly was an initial red flag to be watching for a daily higher low to form, and the bulls are hoping that 399 is that higher low, and we'll have to see some recovery. This hourly oversold bounce at this point, we need to change the trend with a higher low and higher high. The 4-hour time frame wants to see the bulls regain the trend as well. So currently in daily consolidation mode, but no major red flags. 444 was our resistance, and we rejected at 441, essentially, if we're rounding. So a double top there, and we can see a lot of these coins have some clear double tops on the longer term time frames, whether it's the daily or the weekly, some key levels that we need to be watching, and Bitcoin essentially is in that category as well, with the 42.39 and 41.88 resistance levels. IOT USD watching for an equilibrium to be the likely scenario here. And looking at it on the 4-hour time frame, we had a nice double top that gave a red flag. So double top and then loss of 31 was that red flag. But I'm looking at the low, high of the bull move at the double top, higher low as support held, lower high at 3184, and now the bulls are looking for a higher low to form compared to 2911. So looking at it on the daily time frame, low, high, higher low, and now the question is this our lower high? Need to get a little bit more follow through for the bears, but it does look like that's the way that it is shaping up. And if we get a 4-hour lower high and lower low, that will confirm that we are looking for that daily higher low to form in this tightening range. Worth keeping an eye on this because this could be one that sets up, if we do get some pullback into tomorrow, it could be setting up for an equilibrium break later this coming week. And we'll wrap it up with KMD BTC. So on the daily time frame here, we had been consolidating. We had the initial big time bull surge that was very short-lived, just a couple hours, and then a long, slow fade of consolidation that did end up shifting momentum back to the bulls. So we had some clear lower highs. It's definitely choppy in terms of trend on the 4-hour time frame, so I'd use a longer term time frame just because there were some fake outs here that didn't get any follow through as for bull breaks. And you can see it was this volume right here that really made an impact for the bulls, saying, okay, we've seen some bull breaks in the past here without any volume follow through, just on one candlestick volume. Here we have a solid chunk, 16 hours, solid bull volume. And right now we're looking at a tightening range, 2838 down to 2672. Lower high is set at 2757, and we're looking for the higher low compared to 2608 to form. So a 4-hour equilibrium to watch on KMD BTC. But if we're looking at it from a daily perspective to confirm the trend change, yes, we broke the daily lower highs on this move up, but we need the higher low and continuation over 2838 to confirm the daily trend has changed back to the bulls. If that can happen, then 2877 will be the next resistance level after that. So 4-hour equilibrium on KMD BTC, daily equilibrium potentially shaping up on IOT USD, and we're watching Bitcoin, of course, because we want to know what Granddaddy Bitcoin's doing with its weekly trend, whether it's changing or not, and we will continue to monitor whether or not that break is going to occur. If we pull back, break the low of this bear reaction down at 40.42, that is just going to push things back, delay things to later this week as to when we're going to see some more clarity, because again, we'll just assume a daily higher low will come if we do keep pulling back and lose the 4-hour exponential supports. So I hope you had a good weekend, keeping an eye on this space, getting ready as things are shifting, but again, need to see the volume prove it for these bulls. We have the ETF, they keep dangling that carrot. At this point, I think, with it being reinstated and then delays still possible, I think we're talking end of 2019 again. So pretty much ETFs off the table for me, and it's pretty much, in my opinion, off the table for the sector as a whole, where, if it happens, that'd be great, and it would be bullish. If it doesn't happen, I think it's going to be priced in that the market's already anticipating. It's not really a major event at this point, so patiently waiting for some kind of bull catalyst that's going to get that volume surge and, herd FOMO back in play here. And we'll keep checking in. Have a great rest of your day. Do good things. So, Adventure Time, we've got Natural Bridges National Monument now. Pretty similar to Arches, but just a little bit different. And there's a nice little valley with trails and paths to walk through. So, another very picturesque spot with some very cool rock formations. And I actually ended up getting lost for the first time. I never really got lost. Definitely went the wrong way and had to backtrack sometimes, but I got lost, completely lost the trail here. And it was, these bugs are really cool. They're pretty much a mix between a giant moth and a hummingbird. And I couldn't figure out, is that a hummingbird or what is going on there? And I forget their specific name, but it is something that alludes to their similarity. But they were having a blast on these yellow flowers, getting their pollen and nectar. But ended up getting lost on this trail and stuck in a valley, essentially, in a canyon. So I had to scale the walls of the canyon to just get to the top and to be able to see things. And then ended up, by the time I had to go 6 miles out of the way, and it was dusk, it wasn't the kind of thing where I was, fearing for my life. I pretty much knew worst case scenario, I'm going to be hungry and I'm going to have to sleep exposed out, in the open and deal with it tomorrow. But fortunately found my way out and ended my way back to the tent, exhausted, pretty much hiked twice as long as I was anticipating, but it was a good learning experience. So a really nice canyon, walk, natural bridge. You can see where the name comes from. This is in Utah as well, Gooseneck State Park. Incredible river that, obviously has cut this path and just winds back and forth. And to just see time eroded like this, very cool. Another place where you want to time it right, because I got there too early and was dripping sweat, completely exposed, waiting for dusk. But another spot where you just put your tent right there. There's nobody else around. Maybe there was one other RV that was sitting up there. Not a ton to do, but if you can keep yourself entertained with a book or with some music or with some ganja, it's a pretty good spot. But a really interesting geological formation. That's how I entertain myself. A little bit of modern art, leaving my mark. And that's that. So, after Capitol Reef was heading down, where did we go next? I think we're coming close to the end of this trip. And then we'll see what am I going to talk about at the end of videos. We'll find something. So have a good Friday night. We'll be back tomorrow with USMJ eventually. Going to go to Smoky Mountain National Park again on the way home, which is actually where this road trip chapter 1 started. So all full circle. See you then.